Awesome. So we are live on YouTube. Welcome, replayers and anybody who's joining us for the Seed Starting Challenge Day 5. So if you are watching this,
we are live on YouTube.
And I'm just
Welcome,
gonna
replayers and
silence.
anybody who's joining us for the Seed Starting Challenge.
All right. So if you're joining us and you're wondering why is this day 5, and this is the first time I've heard about it, we have this whole week in our Grow It Yourself community, which you'll find the link below if you want to join us. We have been challenging our growers to seed start if they haven't yet, and just to go into refining the seed starting process. So I'm going to go and walk you to where we have started our seeds. In the past few days, we've started them in direct sowed them. We've started them mostly in trays because that is how my husband Dave and I have found to be the most effective way to start seeds and have them germinate quickly in a controlled environment. Yes, Lee. I'm doing the seed starting challenge. We've recently acquired chickens, so the chickens may be in this video. But this is our basement, and you will see this is our seed starting setup. This is where all our seedlings live. And I have seedlings here that are grown for microgreens. That means they'll be consumed in about a week. These are broccoli. They're very bright. They're under bright lights. The temperature here is about 60. This was a seed tray I grew. This is a seed starting tray I grew yesterday, and I actually didn't. This is burdock, and I didn't poke down. That's basically you put the seeds on there in an even fashion. You don't want any of these. And then you poke and sweep and poke and sweep. And I did it for the others, but then that's the majority of what we've been doing in this challenge, is just looking at our seeds really and intentionally placing them so that when they grow, they don't grow like the way microgreens grow, which are all clumped together because we harvest them by cutting them or giving them a haircut. They grow more like this, a little bit farther apart, about an inch apart, depending on what the variety of seeds you're growing, so that you can easily tease out the roots. So in this case, we have grown burdock licorice seeds, which I'm excited to grow because it's really good tea for when you have colds and flu season. And then I've grown radicchio and some beets in this tray. That was yesterday's tray. And then earlier this morning, I sowed a new set of microgreens, alfalfa and broccoli. And you'll see other things growing. So once they are, today's talk was about hardening them off. So if any of you are coming on, let me see, if anyone does come on, we're going to show you some hardening off outside. But to show you some more, these are flowers, but I'm not quite sure what kind. And here we go, admit. Hey, there, somebody's coming on. And I've just misted them with compost tea in an effort to see how that'll improve their performance, and also in an effort to see how they might help with the bugs, because I see a lot of fungus gnats. Hello, Nancy, welcome.
Hey, I made it all 5 days. Yay.
That's amazing. So today I said that I'd hold you accountable to starting a tray today, right? Which was
right. I didn't do it yet. I did not do it yesterday.
Tell me what it was again.
It was to start a microgreen tray. Just, I have
Oh,
dirt, I have the microgreens, seeds, and you don't even have to, the good thing about microgreens, you don't even have to cover it. One time I did cover it, it's just sprinkle on top. So
yeah.
I need to go outside today because I haven't gone outside the last couple of days. Yesterday was 80 degrees. I went
It
out for
was
10 minutes. Right.
is so beautiful yesterday, and today it's raining, but that's good because you can just leave your tray outside for a bit and no need to water it yourself. And you know that water is rainwater, which is perfect. Because one of the things that might affect the life in the soil as well is if the water that we use is chlorinated, sometimes that will kill the bacteria. So if you're going to use the water from the tap that's from the grid, just let it air out a bit, before you apply it, so that you're not killing all the good bacteria that might already be present. But yeah, we were just checking the microgreens and the things that we did yesterday. And today's topic was on hardening off. So I'm going to go outside. Before this, I spent the whole morning doing what I said I would, putting my aerated compost tea as a foliar spray to see how that might affect the growth and the flies, the fungus gnats that are hovering around some of the trays and not others. So we'll see what happens. I did that a little bit, and I see a little bit of decrease in one of the trays, but I don't know yet for sure. I can still see some gnats. So I think it stopped raining. I've also started 4 more trays here. This is inoculated. Those are nothing yet. I'm just letting the rain water them. And it's already pre-inoculated with mycorrhizal fungi. So that'll be great for the root system. I have a bunch of other trees there all over the place. But what I wanted to show you was, and these are being hardened off. Yarrow, snapdragons is that in that tray. I like flowers too. Again, the fenugreek, oregano, anise hyssop, which is another perennial flower that we like to grow. That's a great pollinator, anise hyssop or agastache.
And you didn't just plant those a couple of days ago, did you?
No, these guys have been growing for about a month.
Oh, wow.
So it does take a while. These are asparagus that are outside. You can see the fronds. This is a spent microgreen, so I should actually, but I can see, I can probably use that soil and try to see if I can do one more flush with it. Collards and more collards. You'd think that we have lots of collards growing.
How do you use them? Do you cook them, or do you chop them up? And it's a very southern thing, and I've only done a couple of recipes here and there.
Yeah, you know what? The fastest way. So I learned how to cook collards from a lady named Ira Wallace. And she says, I only know how to cook them 2 ways, like the slow cooker way. My computer is getting wet, so I'm going to go here before I destroy it. The slow cooker way with the hog of, ham hock and in a stew, and the fast way. And so she demonstrated the fast way, which was just garlic and onions, sauteed garlic and onions, chopped up collard greens. So you remove the stalk, you roll them up. There's a way, and you kind of chop them up so that you can remove the stalk. You chiffonade them and then put them in your saute pan, and in 5 minutes, you got nice greens, so rich, keeps you full for a long time. Spinach substitute. So we'll put them in a quiche, we'll put them in a lasagna if we don't have spinach, or we just want some, sauteed greens on the side. It's a great, super high in iron, like much richer than many of the other greens in a lot of different nutrients. So you'll feel that when you eat it. And then some people have said, like, you can do collard wraps and eat them raw. It depends on the variety, because some of them are tough. But then you'll have to, so the ones I have here growing are an experimental kind where we're not sure what we're getting. And they're crossed with other collards, because collards are easily crossable. So if you want to maintain the varietal purity of a collard, you try not to grow any other collard with it. But these ones were intentionally crossed by some of our friends when we came from a conference. And so we decided to try them. And
So,
yeah, but we're
so when you
endangered. Go ahead.
when you harden them off, any plant, so I noticed they're out by the house, so they're not in the house, so they're out by, so they get the warmth from the house a little bit, the radiant heat maybe from the concrete that you have them on, right? But if you know that there's going to be a really cold night coming up, do you then cover them?
So it depends. At this point in time, we're about a month away from our last frost, less than a month away from our last frost historically.
Right.
But we've been noticing that the temperature is getting warmer and warmer sooner. In fact, we had a very mild winter, right? So I am actually kind of chancing it with some of the flowers, like sunflower, which you could sow from March to April, mid-March to April in zone 7. But our last frost, if you read the seed pack, it says set out after frost, which would be April 24, I think, where we are. And I'm going to see an experiment and try to set out half of my sunflowers, because this is kind of a crucial time. March is, you don't get some stuff there, you'll be too late. And then you'll get the bugs and it won't grow. So you want to make that transition time as long as you can, so that what I mean is you're setting things out already. So they're starting to grow. If they die, you have backups, and you set out something a little bit every day. So then the next challenge should technically be transplanting week. Because if we have seeds started as much as we have, then that transplanting that should follow should technically be like the next phase, right? That we're.
Then how long do you harden them off for? Is it like a week or two?
These have been out for about 3 days, and I'm going to start putting them in the ground now already.
Oh,
so
okay.
Yeah, hardening off a week or two is more for, like, I would say the February when you're putting out peas. If you're doing that, farmers direct sow peas in our region in February, mid-February. But if you wanted to get a head start, then you would harden them off. And I would say it's about, you could go a week, because then you're looking for a warm day, and those warm days are not coming as frequently as they are now in March.
Right.
So now it's like 3 days and then it'll get warm again. Whereas in February, it would be like a week before it'll get warm enough to put it in the ground. So now, as the months or the days are getting warmer, you can lessen that hardening off period. Yeah. And that's great questions. Great
You're
question.
welcome.
Yeah. So now let me see if I can duck over there to where we hear a very loud motorized sound. This has deterred actually Kate Hornian, who was a GIY member she bought her whole composting kit, and then she found out it was so loud that I'm trying to cover my computer. You can hear it. It's brewing. I'm gonna see if I can list stuff.
Okay, and what is this again? Your compost pump?
This.
You're popping in and out, Nikki. Can't hear you. Yep. Can't hear you. Oh.
So.
Oh, you're popping in and out. Okay.
Sorry about that. That bin is almost done, so I turned it off.
So can you go over what it was? We lost all audio in the picture.
Oh no. Okay, so that was my aerated compost bin.
Okay.
When I talked about compost tea yesterday, we talked about how I wanted to use it as a foliar spray to ensure that I was giving the right biology from the get-go to my seedlings. So it doesn't take long to brew. That's basically less than a day to brew. And then once you have it, you just decant it into a spray bottle and spray it on to the leaves of all the seedlings that you have and see what happens. So my study will be how, if I do this once a week, what would the effects to the plant be? And I'm excited to do that. So I've already started.
Well, your goal is to really, that you've discovered or learned about recently, that if you can really boost up the immunity of the plant, that it really can repel pests, and not, even pests such as what you like, the cucumber worm.
Yeah, the cabbage loopers and tomato
Cabbage, right,
loopers
right. I mean, some
and
things that you would think.
aphids.
Yeah,
Yeah,
right. So your goal is to sort of, and there's a different process that you've talked about where you can, what to do to fortify that, to build up that immune system, almost like with our bodies, right? Same kind of
exactly.
idea, right?
It
So
is.
now, real quick, and I know we're like right at 12, but the compost tea is really, can you just really quickly say what's in that? Is it a barrel with a bunch of compost and water and then a pump?
Yeah, so it's a barrel with like a quart-sized mason jar full of compost that's finished from my worms, my composting worms.
Okay.
And what you do is you suspend it in a permeable sack so that it's suspended above the water as it is being bubbled by a pump, by a fish tank pump.
Okay.
And the reason that we're doing that is to multiply those worms, because the beneficial worms that we're looking for are the aerobic kind, the ones that like oxygen. So you're oxygenating the water to make sure that those, to favor their reproduction. And then once they're multiplied, you have in that bucket more bacteria that's beneficial than you would in that quart mason jar to begin with. And you also have a medium that's very spreadable, that you could, one drop of that would have a lot of bacteria that would fall in your garden and would inoculate it, in several places. Whereas if you side dress with just compost, it's just a little portion of your garden that's affected.
Right.
And so this could potentially be a more effective means and more cost-effective means of fertilization. So what I'm trying to see is how big do they grow because of this. I'm also trying to see, I mean, it should go hand in hand, like plant physiology wise, that if a plant is growing well, it should also have a robust immune system. It should be, again, be able to not be favored by the insects. And so this one is introducing the biology that is favorable to the plants. But there's the mineral component of the soil that we still need to make sure that we have. And as long as there's water, because we think it's just water and light, because we need the water, the light, the mineral components in the soil, and the biology all to work together. So this is like making sure that you have three. So the only thing I have to make sure of now, and that's where the soil test is important, is the soil test report to see what minerals are present in the soil. So
you do that before, and then you'll do it after you try your experiment with the
yes,
compost tea, right?
yes, yeah.
Okay. Cool.
So that's super. I'm super interested in that, and that's what lights me up to do these things.
Yes, we can see that.
Imagine if every single vegetable you planted was a sure shot win, right? That would feel really good.
Yes.
People would be like, how come your veggies are so robust?
But we still have to weed, right? We still would have to weed.
That's right. There's still the weeds
down. Right.
Yes, there's still the mulch for the weeds, but yeah. So there we have it. And congratulations, Nancy, and anybody else who's watching, has been following along, to for having gone through the seed starting challenge. I hope that this has been beneficial. What's your one takeaway from this, Nancy?
I don't know. Let's see. Just do something. Just do something. Sometimes I get so overwhelmed with information, and it's like, I'm frozen. But you were just kind of like, just get the seeds out there. Direct sow, tray sow, keep them watered. Then it gives that momentum where then you can try some other things.
Yeah.
Out there, it's just,
The first stage is just Yes, the first stage is to actually just get it out there and try something, whatever soil you have, with whatever bucket you have, with whatever tray you have, cookie tin or like your mushroom trays. That's the first step, right? And then you'll see, and then that'll kind of tug at your heart and see, well, I have these things growing. I should probably have to make sure they survive, and then that'll be the next phase.
Yes,
So,
yes,
yeah,
exactly.
wonderful.
Thank you so much. I will see you a little bit later today for my check-in. I better go take some pictures and load them up.
Thank you.
All
Take
right.
care. I'll
Take
see you
care.
soon.